Alright, hi there. Welcome to another episode of Speak Screen Pups Speak. Wow, I'm still always impressed at myself whenever I get that right on the first try. Last week, in case you guys turned in, I did a little experiment I wanted to test out and see about recording some kind of a new podcast thing here on screen, or to help get us back to the way things have been. I was really impressed with the reaction I got. I gotta say, I was not expecting anyone to listen to that at all, let alone give me so many great comments and feedback. That really shows what a great site Screened is. So I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep making these little podcast things. And I'm taking your advice. You guys said that you wanted me to have guests on, and I want to do that too. And you guys suggested getting other Screen Pups on and doing little interviews by Skype. And I think that's an awesome idea. Only problem is, I use Audacity, which is this free program you can use for recording audio. It's for a free program, it's amazing. Problem is, like, 1/3 or a half of the time I use it, it just craps out on me, and at the very end, after I've recorded a lot of stuff, it'll then just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I totally forgot to record that. Totally spaced, man. My bad." And it'll just delete everything I just recorded. So I'm going to tinker with Audacity. I'm trying to get it to work better, and when I can get it to the point where I can make it work better, then I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to get other Screen Pups on through Skype. We're going to start doing this, start doing actual conversations between the Screen Pup community. But for the meantime, I'm just experimenting. Today, I'm experimenting by having a guest here in the room with me. We're going to see how this goes. If this goes well and Audacity behaves nicely, then next week I'm going to have one of my friends on through Skype, and I'm going to test out with them. I'm going to test Skype out with a friend first, simply because I don't want to have a Screen Pup come on with me, and then I spend the entire time going, "Wait, hold on, hold on, one moment, okay, hold on, okay, start talking now, no, wait, hold on, lower your volume, okay." So I'm going to just test it out with someone first next week. And for now, I'm just testing it out with a friend here with me. So yes, I do definitely want to have other Screen Pups on. I think that's an awesome idea. But, you know, this is a process. This is totally new to me. So I am just experimenting with it for now. And you guys, leave comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what I can do to make it better. And I will gladly follow your advice. But I yammered on way longer about that than I thought I would. And as I mentioned, I've got someone here with me. You guys might have seen that when I put these up on YouTube, I use a little image made just for the Screen Pup community. The person with me is the artist herself, Michelle Bard. She's the one who's been drawing all that.
Oh, so it's finally my turn to talk now?
I did not mean to go on that long. I didn't know it was going to go on for that long. You could have shut me up at any moment, you know that, right?
I don't know how to introduce myself. You're better at this than I am.
That is sad. Did you not just see what I just did there?
At least you can talk. I'm just so awkward as hell.
That is the best introduction I've ever heard someone give of themselves. Here's my guess. I'm awkward! Love me! I think I'm turning off right now everybody who enjoyed the last podcast.
It's my fault, isn't it?
Just shut up. Alright. This was going to have some kind of a structure originally, and I don't know where I'm going with any of this anymore. Alright, but yeah, so let's give an introduction to ourselves. You know, you guys, you've seen all the stuff I've written on the site, and Michelle, your big specialty is, like, animation
yeah.
and such. Yeah, you've studied a lot of it, you studied in college, you've done a little bit of it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when did this kind of start with you? Like, how long have you been involved in this art form?
Practically my whole life. You know, when you're little, you always watch cartoons, and people expect you to grow out of it, but for me, I just became more interested in it.
Alright, so yeah, even though Michelle is here kind of just to help me in, like, the practice stage of this podcast thing while I'm still getting warmed up to it and while I'm still figuring out all the buttons and what everything does, she will be here with us again in future episodes, because we will have future episodes that are pretty much dedicated to certain movies coming out. Like Brave is coming out this summer. You are definitely going to be here for that one. You know so much about Pixar. We were watching Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol at one point, which is directed by Brad Bird. And you just all of a sudden out of nowhere went, his ring has A113 written on it. And I went, what the hell does that mean? And like you then went into this whole backstory about how all the Pixar guys have the code A113 and they fit into all their movies somewhere. So yeah, whenever we talk about animation, whenever we talk about an animated movie coming out, you're the girl who we're going to have on. Unless you really hate doing this, in which case we will find someone else.
Well, I guess I do that to, like, you know, overcome my stage fright eventually, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. No one's looking at you here.
Everyone's listening to me, though.
This is all bloopers at this point. I don't think any of this is going in.
We should have just, like, a bonus, like, at the end. Just, like, put all the bloopers at the end of the podcast. Or, like, have a separate podcast.
Well, Screen still does have premium members, people who paid for the site, but now that it's got new owners, there's no premium content on there. We could just put our blooper stuff on the premium content and piss off everyone with a premium membership. You would never see so many refunds be demanded. We've been talking for 9 fucking minutes right now and haven't brought up movies once. Alright, I'm sorry, yeah. Structure. But yeah, let's start off with talking just about a little bit of movie and television news. And the big piece of news that's come out is Community is getting another season. Which, that thing was so on the edge. That thing was in a coma. No one thought it was coming back. I've been a fan of Community ever since the beginning. Not to sound too much like a hipster. And you've started to really get into it this season, too. Mostly because I've been forcing you to watch the episodes.
You're not forcing me. It's just you happen to watch it while I'm around, and I just sit around and it catches my interest, so it's no big deal.
It is such a great geek TV show. I do not know why. I know why the general public doesn't get into it, but, you know, they have it come on against The Big Bang Theory, and I don't understand why so many geeks go towards The Big Bang Theory rather than this. Because the Big Bang Theory idea of geek comedy is, I'm going to mention something you guys know. Community's theory is, I'm going to parody something so exact that you have studied, that you will be in awe of it. I mean, this season alone, they did a Law and Order episode and a Ken Burns documentary episode. I'm amazed at what they can do. And they're so smart, too. Like, last night's episode, we were watching, and, you know, this is a minor spoiler to anyone who didn't see this week's episode. But there's a moment where I literally went, oh my god, this is the last episode. It was right before they announced the show was coming back. And there was a moment where I thought, oh my god, this is the last episode they're doing. And it's going to turn out they were all crazy the entire time. Like, I literally believed it was going to happen because you see them all in this insane asylum. And they're presenting it to you as if it is real. And I thought that is how they were going to end the series. And then all of a sudden I flashed back to, in the second season, they did an episode where it was a clip show of things that had never happened, which is brilliant. And during that clip show, there are multiple times they show the entire gang in an insane asylum in straitjackets. And it just kind of hit me, oh my god, they had this on the back burner the entire time. This was always their break glass in case of cancellation means. We're going to have them all just be crazy. So yeah, it's a brilliant show. I'm glad that's coming back. But, you know, Community isn't the only thing we've been watching. We've been to the movies a lot lately.
Yeah.
What are some of the films that we've seen recently?
Well, you know, besides the Avengers, which pretty much everyone in the world has seen.
It's weird. I don't know if I can spoil anything from it yet, simply because I think everyone in the country has already seen it twice now. But, yeah, before we get to that, because we're going to talk about that for a while, before we get to that, we saw Pirates Band of Misfits.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so you as the big animation expert, what was your take on that?
I really enjoyed it. It's like, it really brings out, like, what Aardman, the studio who created, it's what they're best at. It's like the combination of the computer animation with the traditional claymation and the 2D is like the way it all meshes together. It pulls off the visuals really well, and you know the comedy. It's like it's pure classic Aardman comedy and adventure and fun, and it's pretty much what you expect from the studio. If you're an Aardman fan, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you're really missing out, and I suggest watching all of their movies because they're really good. They have yet to make a movie that failed me or anything. So
Aardman, yeah, really is kind of like the British Pixar. They've had an amazing success rate, and I'll admit, it took me a while to get into them. Like, you had to sit me down and go, you don't like Wallace and Gromit? I'm going to educate you on it. And yeah, you taught me.
Yes, exactly. It's like, I understand why you don't like Curse of the Were-Rabbit. I admit it's the full-length movie is not as good as the shorts, but when you told me that you don't like it and you never seen the shorts, it's like, you are going to see those shorts and you're going to like them. And you did.
Good. Would you? And Pirates Band of Misfits, like, if I had to sum it up, I'd say it is the perfect babysitter movie, because it is so it's family friendly, but I mean, it's like, so kids are going to go nuts over this. Like, I cannot imagine a child watching this and not just rolling. It is so made for them. But at the same time, it's not like talking down to adults.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, your kid is going to sit there and laugh his head off, and you're going to sit there the whole time going, that's so, like, you're never going to feel bored or anything. It really is a fun ride. But not as fun as the Avengers. Oh, we went to the Avengers, and we actually did the AMC theaters were doing a promotion in which they were going to show all 5 of the movies leading up to the Avengers, followed by the actual feature film itself. And I did not want to do that, because I am a movie buff, pure at heart, but I have never gone more than 3 films in one day in a theater. That is the longest film festival that's the longest, like, self-made film festival I've ever done, where I just said, I'm going to spend the whole day in a theater, and by movie number 3, I was like, I can't feel my legs. Last time I did that, last time we did that, it was for the Snubbies, which was our little version of the Oscars, in which we had to cram in as many Oscars as we could.
I guess so, films. But I don't know if that really counts, because we actually had to go jump from one theater to another. It's not like one of those movie marathons where it's like, hey, all those Star Wars movies, premiering at the once at this theater only, and so
yeah,
it's like,
which when we did that, you're right. We went to 3 different theaters in one day to see 3 different movies. We didn't sit in one theater. What are the 3 movies we even saw? Because I remember we saw My Weekend with Marilyn, and we saw something before that. I can't remember what it was. It was kind of light-hearted, but I can't even remember what it was. That's how
crazy it was.
That's how draining it is. And then after My Weekend with Marilyn, you're like, that was good, but I'm done. I can't watch another movie today.
Like the girl with the dragon tattoo. That was the other one.
I had to go. By the way, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was not the first film we saw, because I just said that was a light-hearted film, but I don't remember what it was. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was not the light-hearted film I'm talking about.
No, that's not light-hearted at all.
But the Avengers Marathon, that's the thing. I kept expecting that, like, by movie 4, I would be like, I don't know where I am anymore. It was so fun. Like, there was this atmosphere there. There were people there in costumes. There were people there in, like, full-fledged Iron Man outfits. There was a girl with, like, the giant Loki horns, and she was sitting in the theater with the horns on. No one said shit. No one complained at all.
It was almost like a mini Comic-Con, almost.
It was very much. But it was so fun. Like, there was a guy sitting 2 seats over from us, and he kept talking throughout the movie, but not, like, on his cell phone or anything. Like, I'm talking, like, oh, shit! Or, like, he'd be, like, saying stuff to the screen. And, like, normally, I'd be like, dude, would you shut up? But it was such a fun environment that I was like, I can't get mad at a guy for having the reaction the film wants him to have at the moment he's supposed to have it. Like, we all just went along with it. It was fun. But yeah, and then we actually got to the Avengers moment itself. And, which, by the way, I'm going to brag a little bit. They also had a little trivia night there. I won a free movie ticket because I was the only guy in the theater who could name all 5 actors who had played the Hulk. Which, yeah, I was very impressed.
Yeah, you got the biggest applause.
I know, people lost their mind at that, because no one else knew that. It was like, all my dateless nights in high school finally paid off to get me this free movie ticket.
Yeah, then there was like then there was like a super bonus, prize, which is just like an action figure. It's like, dude, the free movie ticket is better.
Not to mention, we live in New York. A free movie ticket costs more than any action figure. But yes, and then the actual movie came itself, and I really love that. It felt really weird in the beginning to me, because it just starts you right there. It doesn't go, and then Loki battled Thor, and no, it just went, bam, straight into it. No introduction of who these characters are. It goes right into it. And it felt really weird to me. And it wasn't until like 30 minutes into it that suddenly I realized it's because this movie has no Act 1. It starts right at Act 2, right after the point of attack. And I was wondering what was going on with that, but then all of a sudden I realized, yeah, this movie does have an Act 1. It was called Those First 5 Movies, which were spread out over the last 4 years. And I thought it was cool that they just went, hey, if you guys don't know who these characters are, you missed out. And it goes right into it. And, you know, last week I did the Ask an Avengers fan thing. And a lot of people, not just on the site, but I've seen all over the internet people going, why is Black Widow in there? What the heck does Nick Fury do? This movie gets every single character right. I absolutely love that. Black Widow, she proves why she's on the team. Hawkeye, everyone asks, what can Hawkeye do? There's a moment where Hawkeye shoots down an enemy ship without even looking at it. And at that moment, it's like, your move, Katniss. This is not just an archer. This is a guy who could shoot a bird from 10 blocks away and then make that bird explode. He definitely has a spot on the team. And I was watching the movie and, you know, it was getting up to that final battle point and I was like, you know, I'm really liking this. I'm having a lot of fun at it. I'm loving the characters, but I can't give it a perfect score. I'm a big comic book fan, so I want to give it a perfect score. It's, you know, this great cast. I want to give it a perfect score. But I have not had a jaw-dropping moment yet. It just has not happened to me. And then all of a sudden, you know, the team gets fully assembled. My jaw drops and I go, oh, thank you. That was it, movie. I had it. That was all I needed. And then the movie goes, oh, we weren't done. That was just the warm-up. You get treated to so many scenes, one after another, of just mind-blowing excitement. And I've heard so many people say, oh, well, it's just Transformer kind of action. If you think this is the same thing as Transformers, you are not an appropriate film critic.
If you think this is Transformers, then shut up and go watch Battleship.
Oh, yeah, wait another week. Wait another week and then you will see Transformers action. But yeah, okay, yes, things blow up in this, but they blow up in well-shot moments with good pacing in which it gives you a setup to the action and then a payoff to the action. It's not a Michael Bay film where it's just mindless explosions and the same one robot dies 5 times in a row and you don't know who that was. After every single scene, every single little action scene is like its own little moment of the movie. And every single one of them has a setup and a punchline. Setup, payoff, setup, payoff. That just goes to show that an action film can be done in a way that it is not for the mindless audience. It is for people who really love to see actually well thought out movies. So, you know, I give it major props on that. And also, you know, I hear so many people going on about how this is all one big gimmick. About how, you know, we had 5 movies leading into this, so, you know, it's all one big gimmick, it's all just rolling in the same thing. I fail to see how a franchise having a built-in movie marathon made into it is a gimmick. I mean, everybody said, oh, well, this is probably only for comic book fans. This is really a movie that is for movie geeks. This is for people who love to just sit down and watch movie after movie after movie, because that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
And then we rolled right into that, and it was like, this is the perfect ending point to that film festival we just watched. This is the kind of thing in which a box set of this is going to come out. I will get, and anytime we just have a day off, I'm just calling everybody. I'm just going to send out a text message that just says, assemble. Everyone's going to meet at our place. And then we're just going to put this on for 12 hours straight. So,
or maybe you could just, like, do it over live stream, you know, just show the movies over live stream and, like, send a link over Tumblr so, like, everyone could just watch it online with you and talk about it. And I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yes, because Disney loves having their stuff shown online. I don't know the legality of that. That's weird. Whenever people show stuff on live stream, I'm always like, This is the same thing as just showing it to your buddies, just they don't
Yes,
happen to
that's
be here.
basically it. I mean, it's like if you own a copy or you like downloaded a copy, or I don't know. Some people do download it, others just actually bought the Blu-ray and just pop it into their, laptop and play it, but...
And when we walked out of that theater, it was so much electricity in the air. I mean, there was this great, energetic environment. I remember it was like 3 a.m. and you told me I don't even feel tired at all. And nobody there did, even though we just spent 14, 15 hours inside of a theater. That's how energetic that movie left everyone. I've mostly been dominating this conversation. What did you really like about the film? What was your opinion of it?
I really liked how the characters, their personalities worked off each other, like how some of them got along at some times, how some of them didn't get along at other times, but when shit got serious, when the world was taken over and everything, when there's a huge battle going on, they're like, all right, we need to cut the crap and get down to business, and that's what I really like about it.
Yeah, I heard some critics talking about the things they didn't like, saying that, I didn't want them to sit around all this time wondering about whether or not they should be the Avengers. Just go on, be the Avengers. Like, no, because then they would just be plastic toys that you're smashing together. These are actual dynamic characters that each have a personality that are clashing together. And that's something that I loved about the writing in this, that it did not feel at all like a brand new person writing and interpreting characters in his own way. These are, multiple characters from multiple different films, and it really felt like that. It did not feel like a bunch of characters who we've seen in other films being together in this film. This felt like characters from 5 different movies coming together to interact. I mean,
and that's how it was supposed to be.
I know, this is a crossover that I've never really seen done this well before. Yeah, I absolutely think that they got every character right. Like, you're talking about how they all came together there at the end and realized what they had to do. I was worried that they were going to get Captain America wrong because so many people were wondering, well, you got a god here and a guy in a suit of mechanical armor and the Hulk. What's some guy who was a soldier going to do? It's like, he's there because he's the greatest leader around, and I was worried they weren't going to convey that. But when things finally start going down and he just instantly cracks down everyone's ability and tells them exactly what they need to do and why they need to do it, and instantly comes up with a plan for everyone, I love that not a single one of them went, hey, why are we listening to you? Like, no one put Captain America in charge of them. He just gave orders and they went, that's Captain America. We do what he says. He knows what to do. I love that they did that. And speaking of other characters that they got right, Hawkeye. Hawkeye's the one who everyone... I was reading through the reviews on Rotten Tomato, and one person gave it a negative review, and the quote they used from him was, oh yeah, archery's really a good skill to have on the team, because you never know if the aliens are going to be Sheriff of Nottingham. And I went, take his critic badge away, because he did not see the movie. He is lying about this. Because you can't see this movie and walk away still thinking Hawkeye is a dumb character. And, hey, Hawkeye has always been one of my favorite characters, so the moment that they're in that battle and you actually see what he can do, a little tiny geek tear came down my cheek. It was green with gamma radiation. It was just to think that this is a character who so many people were making fun of before they saw the movie, and now, I mean, it just gets me right here when I think about the fact that this Halloween, there's going to be some kid out there who, when his mom asks, what do you want to be for Halloween, he's going to say, I want to be Hawkeye. That just makes my geek heart swell. I love thinking about that. Did you feel that there was any character that was kind of overshadowed, or one character that kind of took too much attention, or did you feel it was really evenly packed in there?
It's like, my only problem is that I feel like Hawkeye got a bit overshadowed because he ended up under Loki's control, so even though you got to see his archery skills, you're not it's like I wasn't sure if it was him or if it was Loki controlling him. But it's like, but once he got out of the mind control, he was still able to show us his skills. I just kind of wish we were able to see it more and thus show us why he was worthy enough to be on the Avengers team.
Which, yeah, and by the way, for anybody who has not seen the film yet, all two of you, let me just say, what she just said, Hawkeye getting under Loki's mind control, that happens in the first 2 minutes of the film. She did not spoil anything for you. She spoiled what you would have missed by trying to find your seat in the darkness because you were at the popcorn stand trying to get refreshments. She spoiled what you would have missed during a bathroom break. That's all that she said. Yeah, Hawkeye spends the majority of the film under Loki's control, and that is one of my few kind of, I wouldn't even really say problems, but one of my few notes to make about the film is, you know, now we've got all these people saying, oh, I want to see a Hawkeye movie, I want to see a Black Widow movie.
Well, there is an Iron Man 3 coming out, so maybe we'll have more screen time with them, kind of like how Iron Man 2 was kind of like a way for us to introduce, you know, Nick Fury and Black Widow.
And Black Widow, yeah. Which, yeah, and I really agree with those people. I do want to see that happen now, because out of all the characters, we do get backstories on each of them. We do know each of them, either from this movie or from the movies they were already in. Hawkeye only appeared as a quick cameo in Thor, and then for the majority of this movie, he is in mind control. So yeah, he is still kind of the mystery character to a lot of people. So I don't think he got enough backstory. We get some. Black Widow reveals a lot of his backstory. So we do get some on him, but I would like to have seen more. But what I was thinking was, a lot of people were saying they want to see a Hawkeye movie, a Black Widow movie. I would either like to see the two of them together in a movie, or, you know, Disney now owns Marvel, but Disney also owns ABC. I would really love to see, like, a 5-part miniseries on ABC, just with the two of them, because, you know, they don't have any real superpowers. It's just archery and, you know, guns and martial arts. You don't really need a big budget for that. I think that you could do that with just... And ABC's done lots of, like, spy shows before in the past. They're the ones who did Alias. You could easily, with the kind of budget that they would put out, you could easily do some kind of a small 5-part miniseries with those two characters. I think that would be a lot of fun. And while we're talking about this movie, we gotta bring up the success that it's had. We all knew it was going to be big. I remember seeing people taking bets on how much money it was going to make, and I bet $180 million, and that was the highest I saw anyone bet, and I wasn't even close. Which, that's a good question. What do you think is going to be the thing that takes it down? Because Dark Shadows is not going to take it down this weekend. But Battleship is coming out next weekend.
Well, you honestly think that's going to take it down?
I'm
really?
I'm so hoping... I'm so hoping not.
I mean, it might be considered a box office hit, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good, and it doesn't mean it's going to actually, like, take down the Avengers.
And I have no idea who out there is going to actually think to themselves, I really want to go and see a big action film. And Avengers and Battleship are playing next to each other, and they choose Battleship. Even people who have seen Avengers already, I can't imagine them making that choice. But then again, I don't know. Battleship is such a mystery to me. Because it looks so stupid. But it's by the people who make Transformers. And those things make crazy cash.
Yeah, but the thing is, Transformers is based off a franchise. A franchise that, mind you, has been existing since the 1980s.
And has a built-in fan base. You're very right on that.
Yes. It's like, Battleship is just a board game.
Which... Yes, and let me just talk about Battleship for a second. Battleship, I remember when I first saw the trailer for that, and I'm talking about the original trailer. The first one doesn't show any aliens or anything. The first one starts out with just Liam Neeson talking to this young naval recruit, telling him that he's an upstart, and that he doesn't want him to marry his daughter, and that they're going out to these naval games, to these war games. And when I was watching that, I thought, oh man, I was totally wrong about you, Battleship. I thought you were going to be stupid, but you're trying to be Top Gun, but replacing the planes with boats. That's a very smart move. This is the best way you could have gone with this plan. What is that thing in the middle of the water? Because then, at the very end of that first trailer, it just takes all that goodwill it had built up with me throughout the previous minute, and then just goes, bam, aliens, bitch.
I just kind of feel like Michael Bay is taking, like, Hollywood to a new low, and like
Yeah,
it's just like oh, everybody likes explosions and aliens these days. That's what we're gonna do. If Michael Bay can get away with it, so can we. It's like,
which, yeah, we already previously mentioned this talking about the Avengers. That to any of those people out there who say, "Oh, this is just like the Transformers movies," all explosions are not created equal. Okay, you can set up an action scene differently. You can have an action scene have a point, or you can have an action scene that is just colorful, bright lights flashing around. And there's no way in hell Battleship is going to be the former. It's going to be the Michael Bay explosions.
it's like, I think you said it once before. It's like the 5 other movies were basically Act 1, and the Avengers are like the Act 2. And I think that's why a lot of critics are complaining how it just jumps into the action. It's like, we've had 5 movies to establish character and background and all this, so you can't really just judge the Avengers movie by itself. You kind of have to watch the other movies to understand why these characters act the way they do, and what's going on and everything. So I think, like, the critics actually just watch those movies and not just the Avengers, then maybe they wouldn't be so harsh on it.
Well, that, but also, even if you haven't really seen the other films, which I think you do to fully appreciate the Avengers,
yeah,
even then, when you have those action scenes, you do still have their characters in
Yes.
it. Like, I mean, there's that moment with the Hulk and Thor beating up one of the giant snake monsters, and then after that, something happens between the Hulk and Thor, and you go, that is exactly how the Hulk and Thor would react. They're characters who act like themselves in it. Whereas in those Transformer films, it is just explosion, explosion, explosion.
And the thing
Megatron
is, like,
dies 5 times.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. It's like all these robots all look the same, and they don't really have any distinguished personalities, so you just see explosions, and you don't give a fuck who's dying or who is exploding. It's like with the Avengers, they actually like show them interacting and exchanging witty comments and everything, and you get to see how they interact and how they get to use teamwork to fight off the bad guys and everything. And I think that's what really makes it such a great film.
It really does. Oh, that is so well put.
Thank you.
But yeah, but Battleship, I don't know. That is such a big mystery to me. I don't know how it's going to do with the box office. Because, yes, it is by the same people who make Transformers, and those make boatloads of cash. But at the same time...
Unintended.
Oh, God, I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, but at the same time, Battleship looks stupid, and people seem to agree on that. This is not, I don't see anybody out there trying to defend this like they might defend Transformers, which nobody really defends Transformers either. I don't know who's going to see those things. I mean, I can't imagine anyone going to see Transformers 3 after what they did with Transformers 2.
I think only the diehard Transformers fans would, because they just want to get involved in anything that involves Transformers, despite how bad it is.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that I don't really see a backlash to it, because, I mean, when Batman and Robin came out, yes, the diehard Batman fans came to it, and then they came out and went, that was bullshit. The Transformer folks come out of that, and, there's a couple of diehard fans who go, what is he doing to the thing that I love? Because that's how you Transformer fans talk. But then, the rest of the population just, that was badass, man. I love it when that thing blew up in the background and I couldn't tell where its head or arms were. Why does every single one of the Transformers look like Fred Sanford built it in his junkyard? Somebody make that video now of of just the Transformers with the song over it.
No, we can't do that. Michael Bay's too racist for that.
Oh. Michael Bay would do that now. God damn it. I remember I was watching that second Transformers movie on TV, simply because I had to see how bad it was. And you walked in and just had this look of, you just caught me looking at porn. You just... Which his movies kind of are, but I mean, you looked at me just like, what are you doing?
No, if you were watching porn, I would forgive you. You have no excuse for this.
Fair enough.
Although with that scene with the girl in it, you might as well be watching porn.
That's disgusting. But yeah, let's, Jesus Christ. But yeah, holy crap, we've been recording longer than Audacity normally lets me record. That's another thing I should mention to everyone. Audacity normally just craps out at like 20-some-odd minutes. So that's another reason I want to test this out. So far, it's going well. You can hear my fingers crossing. Why did I say any of this? This thing's going to crap out now at any moment.
Save it now.
Okay, well, like I said, I want us to have some kind of a structure on this show. But I'm not gonna lie, that's gonna happen. Us going off on tangents is going to happen more than usual, but this time it was actually about movies. So,
but people like tangents. That's the whole reason why they listen to podcasts.
I don't know. There's the NPR crowd too. It's hard to believe that I'm the same guy who has the time to sit down and write articles about documentaries, and yet I still am this easily distracted. Speaking of documentaries, speaking of movies that we saw and documentaries, segue, another movie that I recently saw, I watched it's a new thing that they have up on Netflix. It's a documentary called The People versus, I almost said George Carlin. Which I'd watch that movie. It's weird, like, I've got two sides to my mind, like, part of me wants so badly a George Carlin biopic, and then the rest of me is like, just watch his stand-up. His whole story is there. But no, it was The People versus George Lucas, which, if you are a big film geek, which I say that term with absolute love, I'm a film geek 100%. Geek just means you know about pop culture, like movies, and you also are involved with it. Like, you know, you're the kind of guy who in his mind starts thinking, oh, well, I wonder what happened behind the scenes at this. I wonder what's the story that connects these two things. That's what makes a film geek. And that's what Screen really is. It's a community of us. So if you are a real film geek, I suggest watching The People versus George Lucas. Because I don't know how many people are still kind of on George Lucas's side. Because, yeah, we all know what he's done to the Star Wars franchise. And there's two sides to the argument. One is, what are you doing to the thing that I love? Why are you and, you know, even though I'm not a big Star Wars geek, I'm a film historian. Mm-hmm. And the fact that George Lucas takes the original prints of what were fantastic movies, and he says, no, I don't want anyone to have the original versions of this. That really, you can't take something away from history. That is a crime in my mind. If you want to go back and re-edit the films, fine. Re-edit the films all you want. Still keep the main copies because they're there for historical purposes.
That's why I always hate, like, throwing out my original sketches because of, like you said, it's like, even though, like, the finished result is, like, different from, like, the original sketch, or the original sketch is, like, a stupid little doodle that I never want the world to see, I just feel like I feel like I'm obligated as an artist to keep these for myself, you know?
Yeah, there's that argument to it that he's taking away things that people love, and he's taking things away from history. But then there's the other side of the argument that says, but he's an artist, and this is his project. He has the right to do this. This film, even though it supports the fans, and it follows the fans, it still makes sure to present both sides of the argument to you. And it does it in a really mature way. And at the end, it does like a psychological breakdown of George Lucas. And I mean, it's this jaw-dropping moment where they have an interview with George Lucas from back when he was much younger, and he said, well, my dad was a businessman, and so growing up, the last thing in the world I ever wanted to be was a businessman. And it just kind of dawns on you like, oh, George.
You have become the thing you'd hate.
George was Luke Skywalker, and his dad was the businessman, Darth Vader, and George went into that cave and chopped off Darth Vader's head, and then inside the mask was his own face. That's what happened. It's the saddest moment, and it kind of makes it go like, because I thought George Lucas was just being an asshole, but as soon as you watch that, you just go, he's not an asshole, he's just gone. It's over, George. So yeah, that's another big recommendation I'll make, and that's, if you don't have the money to go to the theaters and see Avengers for the third time, then, The People versus George Lucas, it's a great little documentary that's just available on Netflix.
I also think, if you ever do want to be a director or, anything in the art field, any art field, whether it's, movies or writing or doing graphic novels or whatever, it's this is like an ego check, It's like you should watch this to make sure, that the things you make are, your children, and you don't want to exploit them, no matter, how much money or, how much you want to please the fans. It's about you, and it's about your artwork, and, it's okay to, I guess it is sometimes okay to, go back and make adjustments, because, like you said, you're the artist, you're in charge of your own creation, but, at the same time, you have to, keep that little reminder in the back of your head, don't fuck this up. This is your pride and joy, So
I absolutely agree with you. You just summed that up very well. This is exactly what this film does to anyone who wants to get involved in the art industry. It does kind of shone that light on you and makes you go, am I being an asshole? How am I going to be sure I'm not being an asshole? Because, yeah, that's the thing. Like you said, you are, as the artist, are totally entitled to go back and change your own thing. What you're not entitled to do is try to remove the memories of the original version from someone's head, especially when they like that original version better. My big complaint with the movie isn't even a complaint with the movie. It's the fact that since this film came out in 2010, George Lucas has said so much more crazy shit. Inserting the no into the third version, and now that's the only version you can get where he now says no. Or, now he's come out and he said Greedo always shot first. And it's oh, George, you're just crazy. Because we, the film geek community, have seen the script. And it doesn't even say Greedo shoots at all. It just says Han shoots. Greedo didn't even shoot second in the original version. He just died.
You can always just, hack him with the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Actually, that brings up a good point. I want to actually ask all the Star Wars fans out there, is the Star Wars Holiday Special better or worse than the prequels? And is it better or worse than the original 3 after the changes that Lucas made to the Blu-ray editions? That is something that I am really interested in hearing, because, I refuse to buy the Blu-rays.
Actually, maybe you can, ask the Screen Pups that question, and, you can read their responses.
That'd be a good response to have for the next one, because, we're going to start also having, a viewer mail on this show. We're going to have, questions answered. Like I said, we do have a formula to this show, no matter how far off it we've already gotten.
Have you ever actually seen the Holiday Special?
I've seen parts of it. I know that, oh god, who's the lady that talked like this? She didn't actually talk like this. The girl from Golden Girls, Maude.
Yeah.
Maude, what was her name? B. Arthur, that was it, yeah. Wait, no, B. Arthur? Yeah, B. Arthur, yeah, from Golden Girls, yeah. I know that started her, and she was, running the cantina, and she was going to lose the business. I remember that part, and then I remember the Wookiee Life Day. I remember Wookiee Life Day and about, how the Wookiees get into a virtual reality helmet simulator. Which, you know what? I honestly think that if George Lucas really had any balls at all in him as an artistic person, he would try to make lemons from lemonade. I think he would take that massive failure and just go, you know what? I'm going to put this in a way that kind of fesses up, that just says, yes, I fucked up and this does exist and I can't get rid of it.
Unless he goes back and redoes that too. He redoes the holiday special with CGI bull crap shoved in.
I'm picturing Jar Jar in a Santa outfit.
Ooh, Misa, wish you happy holiday.
I'm editing that out.
Don't edit that.
You don't want me to edit? Alright.
Well, it's up to you.
Right.
Like I said before, you are the creator of this podcast, so it's up to you what you want to do with this.
So I'm going to go back and put in tauntauns into this podcast.
No, you're gonna pay me to draw tauntaun backgrounds for this podcast.
Jesus Christ.
Just a dog.
We have a formula to this show.
Just a dog riding on a tauntaun as this backdrop for this podcast.
Oh my god. Anyway, formula.
What's that?
Yes, we have a structure to this show.
Believe it or not.
And yeah, here comes the second segment of the show, which should have come half a fucking hour ago, which we're calling Trailer Talk, because I can't think of a better name for it now. But we're just going to take 3 of the trailers that came out this week, and we're just going to give our opinions on them. First one I want to talk about is Argo, which any of these trailers you can find on the site. They're all right there. Argo is the new film coming out from Ben Affleck, which used to be a phrase that filled people with horror. Now people are excited, and I always thought Ben Affleck was a smart guy who just had a crappy agent. I'm so glad to see him getting back into this. I don't want to really say too much about him, but I'm very excited about his third movie because I really like Gone Baby Gone. I really liked... I loved The Town. That is one of the few films I have given 5 stars to. I absolutely flat out love that film. But I'm worried about jinxing Ben Affleck because I never call someone a great director until he's got 3 movies under his belt. 3 really good movies under their belt. This is his third one. And what was your impression, Leonard? Let me just give you the background on it. It's during the Iranian hostage situation in the 1970s, the U.S. government sent in a fake filmmaker to pretend to be making this science fiction movie, and basically he was going to sneak the hostage out as the crew for the film, which I believe they already tried to make a movie about this called The Last Shot with Matthew Broderick. It was basically a very similar situation, but I don't think it was quite about... The movie itself, I don't think it was about the Iranian hostage situation, but I think it was inspired by that. But this is the actual thing. And like I said, I'm really excited, but also a little bit nervous because, like I said, Ben Affleck's a really smart guy, but he needs 3 good films in order for me to call him a great director, and this is number 3, so I'm just crossing my fingers on it. What's your take?
Well, it does seem like a very interesting, movie, and it makes me wonder why can't we do the strategy all the time if it works so well? Why can't, instead of, sending in troops to rescue innocent people, we just send in people pretending to be filmmakers? So
at Osama bin Laden's place, they should have just seen if he wanted to do a reality show.
Why not? He's filmed himself before.
So
he probably would love it.
I guarantee that at one point in time, that was the proposed plot of Expendables 2. I guarantee that. And in the moment Osama bin Laden really did die, they just went, damn it. What are we going to do with Chuck Norris now? But yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to it. And it's got this great feel of the 70s in there, too. It's like everything's got kind of this, orangey tinge to it. I love when they do that. I'm a sucker for that stuff. It's very simple, but I'm a sucker for it. Speaking of other films that have, a weird tinge to them, Gangster Squad is our next trailer. Gangster Squad is another gangster film. Cops try to stop him and everything. I'm going to say something about this that's a little controversial, probably, which is that if it were not for the cast of this movie, I would not be excited about it at all. Because I watched this, and I like gangster films. I was watching this this looks like just your run-of-the-mill, very average gangster film. Nothing really is standing out to me at all, except that it's got the most amazing cast of any film I've seen since, The Avengers. But no, it's got probably the most amazing cast of any film I've seen in so long. I mean, it's got Sean Penn, Josh Brolin, Nick Nolte, Ryan Gosling, and Ryan Gosling doesn't do... I can't name a bad Ryan Gosling film. It's got Emma Stone in there. This is such an amazing cast, and yet I was watching this going, if these were no-name actors, I would not give a crap about any of this. So therefore, I'm under the assumption this is going to be a good movie. I just don't know. What was your take on it?
Well, I'm a bit of a gangster fan myself. I've been interested in like the 1920s Prohibition era. So, like, the way they dress is like, but then I noticed, like, the neon lights in the background, so that threw me off a bit, so I'm not quite sure what era or when or where it takes place, but visually, it does look very nice.
Yeah, because that was the thing about it, is that this has got great cinematography on. I will also give them that, because everything is so stylized in this, that if somebody told me that all these actors were just acting in front of a green screen and everything else was fake, I would believe them, because this does look hyper-stylized, which I think is a very cool thing to do with it. Any other thoughts on it?
Well, I guess we just pointed out, like, all the good things, like the cinematography and the great casting, so if that somehow can balance out the sort of the run-of-the-mill mobster plot story thing, then I think it might turn out pretty good, you know?
Yeah, and also, let me just say, run-of-the-mill stories aren't always bad.
No.
I just said a few minutes ago, The Town is one of the only films I've ever given a 5-star review to. And yet, The Town is nothing but just a regular bank heist movie.
It's like,
that's it.
It's like, the way I see it, if the plot line is something we've already seen before, sometimes it's the context, the way it's presented, that makes the difference. Like, for example, in Avatar, it's like, they're bad, we're good. Oh no, they're good too. We need to get along and all that shit. And it's like, and then you see like How to Train Your Dragon, and it's like it's basically the same plot. You know, it's like, oh, the dragons are bad. We need to get rid of them. Oh no, actually, that we can get along with dragons and everything. But it's like you have dragons and Vikings, and you have these beautiful visuals and a great soundtrack. So it's like, even if you can't think of like an original plot line, sometimes the way you show it, the way you work with it, it really can and does make a big difference.
I agree with you, yeah. Our third film that we're going to talk about the trailer for is The Campaign. Will Ferrell plays a congressman, been elected 4 times because he's never once been opposed, and then Zach Galifianakis, this humble little small-town guy, decides to run against him. And Will Ferrell is just the embodiment of government bigwigginess and, you know, corruption and arrogance, and Zach Galifianakis could not be more of a humble small-town guy. Which, Zach Galifianakis and Will Ferrell are 2 guys who I was like, you guys better start doing some dramas fast, because you are doing so many one-note characters, and I'm just done. I can't watch another one of your movies. You're about to hit Adam Sandler territory with me on the whole doing the same character over and over again. I watched this and I actually kind of laughed. Maybe it's like multiplying negatives. I don't know. But, yeah, what do you think?
It actually kind of depressed me because I'm like, yeah, this is not that far from the truth as far as politics and campaigns go.
I worked on the gubernatorial campaign of the sitting governor for a state that I will not name, but it's been in the news a lot lately. And yeah, and when I say I worked on, I don't mean I was the guy hanging out flyers. I mean, like, I could have reached out and touched the office door to the person that was running.
I'm still waiting for you to dig up some dirt on those guys.
After what happened in that state this past week, I got some shit that I could bring up, but the guy that's running on the other side is way worse. So I will shut my trap until the time is right. Until that book deal rolls in. But no, it's hard to say, because Will Ferrell wasn't like the candidate I was working with, but actually, you know what? I'll be totally honest with you guys. You guys want to see what movie was like when I worked for the governor? Go watch Ides of March. Everybody was saying, really? This just seems like kind of a run-of-the-mill kind of movie to me. And I was like, this is one of my favorite movies of the year. And everyone was like, well, why are you thinking that? It's like, because this wasn't based on a book, this was based on my diary. That last shot of Ryan Gosling as he turns pure evil, that was me for like a month after the campaign.
That
So,
can also be, like, another, like, good thing for run-of-the-mill movies. Like, sometimes, like, personal experience makes you see, like, beyond it, and it's like, you realize it's more than just run-of-the-mill. It's like, it's something you can actually relate to, so.
yeah, exactly. But the campaign looks to me like, I don't know, it's like Will Ferrell, once again, he is doing a lot of his... Will Ferrell, to me, his one character that he does is the guy who does not know the appropriate volume or tone to take with the words he's saying. Mm-hmm. That's his character to me. In this, he's actually kind of playing a character, but once again, the character's a little bit similar to that. Zach Galifianakis is playing a much different character than what we normally see. I mean, yeah, he's still kind of stupid, but he's stupid in an innocent deer-in-the-headlights kind of way. He's not stupid in the man-child, kind of jackass kind of way that he's been. So I think that maybe that's one of the reasons it's appealing to me more. Also, you know, I do like the variations in characters. I mean, there's that scene where Zach Galifianakis tries to trash talk him by saying, "I'm gonna pop your bubble," and then Will Ferrell just goes, "Your mother's like a vacuum cleaner. She sucks and blows and gets laid in the closet." And I was like, I really want to see these two characters interact. So I don't know. I'll wait until I hear the reviews on it. Okay, and that was Trailer Talk. My voice is getting very sore, but that's alright because we're moving into our last segment. Like we said, Screen has such an amazing community. Every single week you guys impress me with all the stuff that you put out. And also just with the way the community is exactly that. It's a community. I was so nervous to start putting up blogs and stuff on this site because the internet is full of mostly nothing but trolls. This is one of the only places on the internet where you get really well thought out comments back from people. They're very supportive, and even if somebody disagrees with you, they word it so friendly and maturely that it's like you don't even think they disagreed with you in the first place. We can't let Screen go away simply for the fact that it's the only nice website out there. In fact, you know, every time that I think about the direction that Screen's going, like, I keep looking at that little Facebook like page that we have down at the bottom and seeing how many people are there, and I watch that thing like the stock market, and every time it goes down, I hurt a little inside. We need this site to stick around. We need it to succeed. And it's because of you guys, like I said, and because that each week for this podcast, I'm going to put up a little forum on the website. And it'll be basically asking your opinions on, like, best and worst of something. And then at the end of our show, we're going to go through and read off what everyone did, give our little takes on, you know, talk about everybody's opinions. And in case you guys haven't heard, this Sunday, which is where I'm hoping to have this podcast drop, this Sunday is Mother's Day. If you haven't gotten something by now, you're in deep trouble. For the love of God, call her at least, or something. You're running behind. And so I put up a little post asking people to give their opinions on TV and movies, best and worst moms. And we got a lot of responses, and they're really good. So we're going to run through these. We're going to start with Rakin Kimosabe. His best is Helen Parr from The Incredibles. I wouldn't even have thought of her, and yet she's probably the best choice I can come up with. She was fantastic in The Incredibles, such a great character, and I do think she is a great mom, because, you know, she is trying to hold the family together. She is keeping things safe at home. She is trying to keep everything stable. The protection of her family does come first. But when it gets to that point, when it's like, we are in it, there is no way we can get out of this, she gives that speech in which she says, you know, yes, use your powers, because they're always going to come for you. And she basically tells her kids what their life is going to be, and she finally gives them the okay. Which, that to me, you know, it's a great little moment of the mother being by letting the kids go off.
I agree. I really don't have anything to say to add on that. You pretty much covered it all.
Sorry, I tend to do that, but yeah, I mean, The Incredibles was such an amazing movie, too, and a lot of it was because of that family feel to it. Worst, Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones. I will admit, I don't really watch Game of Thrones. I know it's a good show, but I'm not a big fantasy guy, unless it comes to Skyrim. But yeah, it's not really my bag, so I haven't really watched it that much. I can't really comment on it. And the other one is Betty Draper, which, Don Draper's wife from Mad Men, and who is a majorly unsympathetic character, and the fact that she's got Don Draper as a husband, that alone should make her a sympathetic character. But yeah, let's keep on going down. Next up comes from our moderator, who's been busting his hump here on the site. This guy, Final Dasa, does so much good stuff on the site. And, I mean, he's the guy who does the community showcase each week, so he deserves all of our respect. He wrote Worth Mom. He meant to write Worst, but I love the fact that he wrote Worth, because it kind of is appropriate for his choice. Stifler's mom. I will admit, I never liked the American Pie films, even though they came out at the time when I was supposed to be in that age that should like them.
Yeah.
I could not get into them. I mean, what was your take on the movies?
I thought the first one was entertaining. After that, it just kind of...
Yeah. But yeah, I can't really argue with his choice as a bad mom. I mean, I think that's a great one to call out there, Stifler's mom, because... Yeah, you look at, when you meet her, it's like, there's no other way Stifler could have turned out. Mm-hmm. It's, why Stifler is the way he is. His origin story is in that woman. And a lot of other things. Let's keep going down. Next up is Gangley. Gangley gives us a lot, and he wrote down, my criteria is pretty simple. The perfect TV/movie mom is endlessly loving in her own way, respectful of her kids' independence and intelligent, fleshed out character in her own right, and of course, super hot. Therefore, we're left with Peg Bundy, Claire Huxtable, Beverly Soothfin, I'm not familiar with that one, so I know I pronounced it wrong, Lois Wilkerson, Sarah Connor, and Roseanne... Oh, wait, two Connors. I didn't even notice that. Sarah Connor and Roseanne Connor. And, of course, he also seconds Helen Parr. Peg Bundy, I could not disagree more with that. She was going to actually be... Gangley is a smart guy, and I agree with him on a lot of things. I'm totally coming down the other side. Peg Bundy was going to be on my worst list, honestly. I was a huge Married with Children fan. I've seen all the episodes multiple times. And yes, there are lots of times in that series in which Peg Bundy will, hug her kids when they're crying, or if her kids are in trouble, she will, kick some ass. But the rest of the time, she's kind of the reason they're always in such a shitty condition. It's, everybody says, oh, Al's the one to blame for this. Al would be living fine if it was not for Peg. Al, Al's a bad dad, but at least he does kind of go out there and bust his hump because he realizes he has responsibilities. Mm-hmm. Peg just burns up all the cash at home. And then she kind of dismisses the kids. Respectful of their kids' independence and intelligence, she treated Buck like a baby on that show throughout the entire series. Buck was the dog. Bud was the son, yes. But yeah, every now and again, I will admit, she would stand up and fight for her kid if they got in trouble. And also, in a weird way, Kelly. Yeah, Kelly on the show, Kelly Bundy. Once again, it's one of those things which is like, you meet Peg, and you're like, there's no other way that Kelly would have turned out. But in a weird way, Peg does kind of accept that this is who Kelly is, and she's, proud of it, and she does encourage it. So, in a way, she is kind of a good mom to Kelly. Claire Huxtable from The Cosby Show. I love The Cosby Show. And, yeah, Claire was one of those first, mom knows best kind of. Yeah. But, it wasn't one of those TV shows that we have now where mom knows best and dad is a fucking moron who can't do anything. Bill Cosby was a great male role model on that show. He did know what he was talking about, and he was smart. But this was one of the few shows out there that realized, it doesn't have to be dad knows best or mom knows best. They can both be really smart. Mm-hmm. So I do think that Claire Huxtable is a great character for that. But I can't remember what her job was, but I did think it was really cool that this was a family that had two people with really successful careers going at the same time, and yet still held down their families. Beverly Soothfin from Serial Mom. I'm unfamiliar with this one.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that one. Sorry.
I know the movie, I'll admit that, but I don't know I never watched it, so I have to pass on that. Lois Wilkerson, which was a lot of people might not know Lois Wilkerson because they never actually revealed her last name on the show. It was like one of those like little Easter eggs that you had to catch in the first episode. But you do probably know Lois from Malcolm in the Middle. Mm-hmm. I flat out love Malcolm in the Middle. I've
seen it a few times.
Yeah, Lois to me, I would love to pick the brains of the writers on that show. Because I've seen all the Malcolm in the Middle episodes, and it seems to me like 75% of the people who worked on that show thought Lois was a fantastic mom. And Lois was a hard ass. Mm-hmm. And that was the great thing about her. She has these rambunctious, crazy kids. And she is the hard ass that keeps them from destroying things. And in the last episode of Malcolm in the Middle, it's a great last episode because Lois kind of, it looks like she has screwed over Malcolm by not letting him get this scholarship. And then when he loses it over that, she says, because that's not the plan. And then she lays out her plan for him, and it leads to him being president of the United States. And she says it's not because, it's not because she's controlling. It's not because she is some freak who's always tampering with their child's life. It's because she went, people like us have the shit end of the stick. And you are the only guy who can change things for the good. And it basically lays out what will happen to this character for the rest of the history and leads to him basically being the best president ever. And you realize it would not have been for Lois if he had not done this. So it was like 75% of the crew must have thought she was the greatest mom ever. But then you'd watch some episodes and you'd be like, and you'd think that like the other 25 thought she was the worst mom in the world. Because the other 25 would basically have her just kind of losing her shit and ruining her children's life. Mm-hmm. And it really, I so just want to pick the brains of all the people who wrote on that show. Because it does really feel like a fourth of the writers really just hated Lois's guts. Because I remember a couple of episodes where she would just break down in tears and just go, I'm a horrible mother. And then, very next week it would be like, I'm the mother that's going to save the world. I mean, you saw only a few episodes, so you can't really say anything, but...
Yeah, I just unfortunately had seen all the episodes where she was like a total bitch, so I haven't really seen her good side that much.
Well, the thing is that she was a total bitch, but she was kind of a bitch that was like, yeah, because if I'm not a bitch, my children will kill everyone. The only reason these kids aren't in jail right now is because I'm a bitch. Next up, Sarah Connor. Terminator.
Yep.
You want to talk about a badass mom. I love the fact that she is, that in the second Terminator, she's in a mental institution, and it's very clear, and to anyone on the outside, she's gone insane, and then the moment that they free her, nope, I'm back into being your mom, and I'm going to kick some ass. I mean, you saw the Terminator films, right?
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
It's been a while, but... It's been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah, I do remember her kicking a lot of ass.
Next up, Roseanne Connor. Another Connor. Roseanne Connor from the TV show Roseanne, played by Roseanne Barr. Roseanne was a TV show that when I saw it as a kid, I didn't really get it. Like, I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
They had great Halloween episodes, and for me, that made me love any show. But, like, I never really got all of it. I was like, why is this getting serious all of a sudden? Then I started watching it as an adult on reruns. I'd say that was one of the most important TV shows out there. Because that was one of the few shows out there that actually showed hard-working average Joes and the issues they have to deal with.
Yeah.
And it was coming from a woman's point of view. I mean, we've seen hard-working Joes before, but it was totally comedy, like, the Honeymooners.
Yeah.
It was coming from the guy's point of view of, I got this crazy scheme. This was from the mother's point of view of, we have no crazy schemes, and the rent is due, and we're fucked. That is one of the reasons I love that. And she held shit together. No matter how bad it got, Roseanne was such a great mom. That was a great call out. Another one of those characters I would not have thought of putting on this list.
Yeah.
So, did you ever used to watch the show?
Not as much, but yeah, it's like, looking back, it's like, it was like one of the most real shows out there. It's like, this is what real people look like and act like, and this is the kind of stuff they have to put up with. So yeah, I can see why she would definitely be one of the best moms, because she has to like put up the same crap we have to put up with.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that we need another one
Yes.
of those like this, especially now.
Yes.
Next up, we're going to Acura Max, who has one of my favorite icons on the site. Very appropriate for this week, too, with the passing of Maurice Sendak. So, since it's of Barack Obama reading Where the Wild Things Are. His list of best from movies is Mother from the Asian film Mother. Sadly, I didn't see that one, but I read the description. Sounds pretty cool. Worst, Kramer versus Kramer. What a bitch! That film was very interesting because, it's a film about a couple getting a divorce. And normally when a couple gets a divorce, it's always kind of taken from the woman's point of view and the dad is always painted as an asshole. This film, it really paints the dad as the good guy and the mom is the asshole in it. TV's worst was Everybody Loves Raymond, Raymond's mother. And his best was Everybody Loves Raymond, Raymond's wife. I agree with you that Raymond's mother was horrible. Raymond's wife, I'm kind of split on that one. Because, in the beginning it was like, yeah, my husband's an idiot, but, I got whole things down here at home. But on the other end, in like the second half of that series run, they totally forgot they even had kids. It was almost like the producers just got tired of that shit. So it's hard for me to say, oh, this was the best mother, because like, I kind of stopped watching it into later years, but I remember one of the, like, it might have been their last season, there was a moment where they talked about, oh, we can't go out because we've got kids, and they just went, where are your kids? And then they both kind of look at each other like, we don't know. We forgot we had them. Did you ever used to watch Everybody Loves Raymond?
Not really that much.
Yeah, I have no problem with the dad being a moron in these shows. Like, I love The Simpsons. I love, all these I love tons of other shows like that where the dad is just a bumbling idiot. Raymond was just a freaking idiot. If he was a cartoon, you might buy it, but because he was real, I just wanted to shake him and just go, how do you dress yourself? Let's see.
How did you manage to make children in the first place?
We got Ghost of Ghost Dad, speaking of Bill Cosby characters. His best was Miss Brisby from The Secret of Nim.
I agree.
Yes, it's been so long since I've seen it, but this is an animated one. You go ahead, you talk about it.
Well, she's basically putting her whole life on the line to save her own kids, especially one who is sick in bed, so he can't really do anything. And she actually trusts her kids to watch out for themselves while she goes out, risking her life for them. And they actually are able to stand their ground. And I appreciate a mom who can trust their kids enough so they can give them independence and everything.
Yes, that was an amazing choice, I think. Worst, Joanne Crawford from Mommy Dearest. I'm shocked. No, I'm shocked he's the only guy who mentioned that. She is a monster in that movie.
That's usually the first thing that should come to mind when you think of a horrible mother.
She was so bad that the entire time I kept going, okay, yeah, definitely her, but there was one other horrible mother, and I was like, okay, I remember the scene, and then I described the scene to you, and you went, yeah, that was Mommy Dearest, and she's so horrible, I thought of her twice. From TV, he suggests best. Can't think of any off the top of my head, but I will say Nancy Botwin from Weeds for trying to be a good single parent while it becomes increasingly obvious she is deeply flawed and becomes more of a horrible person each passing season. Okay, I'm glad he said that because in the beginning, I will agree with you. Nancy Botwin, I thought, was good. She was trying to be a good single mom, set a good example. She just happened to lead this secret life of selling pot because that's all she knew how to do to support her family. I just got done watching season 6 of that. Fuck Nancy Botwin. She starts off so good, and by season 6, she is just a machine that is there to ruin other people's lives. I don't think you saw season 6 with me, but you saw up to season 5, which, that was the one where her, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen season 5. That's the one that ends with her youngest son, Shane, killing someone and having her drown in the pool. Mm-hmm. What's your take on her? Because you didn't see season 6, which is where it gets really fucked up.
I just think, what the fuck is going on? Why?
It gets so dark. I stopped liking Nancy after, I think it was season 3. there's, she couldn't get a job because she didn't know how to do anything else. And she gets into debt with this gangster called U-Turn. All of a sudden her life is going to shit, and, U-Turn then basically says, well, I own you now. And he's making her go out and sell drugs for him. And he keeps upping her debt. And there comes a point where she says, how am I supposed to pay you back if you keep upping my debt? And he just goes, get a job, bitch. And so then she goes out and she gets this reception job. And I'm not going to say how in case you haven't seen the show, because it is a really good show. But eventually, I love the fact that I spoiled the end of Season 5, but I'm not going to spoil what happens to U-Turn. But yeah, there comes this moment where something happens, and she's no longer has to work under U-Turn. And she's still got this reception job, and immediately after she gets out of being in his debt, she goes back to selling pot on the side, and that's the moment where I stopped caring about her, and where I stopped thinking of her as a sympathetic character. It's like, no, you now have a real job. You don't have to go back to this world, and you were in debt to a gangster who was ruining your life. You've now seen how bad this world is. Before you were just, I'm just selling drugs, this is fun. What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
And then you see what goes wrong. And you want to go back into it, even though you now no longer have to. And that's why I stopped being sympathetic to her. But in Season 6, holy shit, she forces all of them to abandon their old identities. Not go into witness protection or anything like that. Abandon their old identities. And I understand why she couldn't go into witness protection because of what I already spoiled at the end of Season 5. She couldn't reveal that to anyone. So I understand. She had to abandon all their identities. But after that, they abandon their identities and they go and they get regular jobs and they have a place to live. And she decides she doesn't want that. She decides she's bored. And so she starts selling hash. Which I'm not going to reveal too much about drugs to anyone, but if you go from pot to hash, you're on a decline. And she keeps just ruining her children's life in this. She's like, I don't want to work in a hotel anymore. I want to go back to selling drugs. They go out, they have to get on an RV, travel around, and there's an episode that ends right after she has an angry mob chase them away because she wanted to get laid again. And as they're driving away, she says, I want to see those dryers running 24/7 because we're selling hash. She says that to her children. She says that to her children. And it's like, nope, you are a bitch. You are a horrible, I can't remember her blonde son's name, but he's the one who's he's not crazy, he's actually kind of smart, he actually has hope, he wants to go to college, and you just want to yell at that kid, dude, just tuck and roll, just jump out of the RV and tuck and roll. You are better left being raised by wolves than by Nancy Botwin at this point. But getting back to Ghost of Ghost Dad, by the way, it's still a fantastic show. I still love Weebs, even if she's just a major bitch. Getting back to Ghost of Ghost Dad, worst, easily Jessica Walter. Yes, Jessica Walter I will say she's the worst on television. Jessica Walter from Arrested Development and from Archer, which is basically her character from Archer, just angrier. And with more power. That is the most... You've seen episodes of Archer. Have you ever seen Arrested Development?
No, I haven't, but if she's anything like on Archer, then holy shit.
Archer... That's another one. It's a lot like Stifler's mom. The moment that you meet Archer, you're like, Archer's just nothing but a big man-child and idiot and jackass and horrible to everyone. But the moment that you meet Archer's mom, you're like, this is the best he could have possibly turned out. Every time it does a flashback to him being raised by his mother, those are the most depressing flashbacks I've ever seen. Like, there's one where it's his flashback to his Halloween, and she gets him drunk to the point where he's throwing up in the sink, and also forces him to gamble away all his candy against her. This next one, though, you're gonna talk a while on this one. Penguin Dust, which is a really cool name. Penguin does. It says, I've decided to go all animated on this one. You want to read these ones off?
Sure. Best for TV, Rebecca Cunningham from Tailspin, to which I agree. She's the one who has to hold down the fort. She has to take care of Baloo and her own child, so she's basically taking care of two children at once. Worst TV, Mom from Futurama, and that's really a very good one.
She's got the best insults, though, of any
Yes. Best film, Mrs. Brisby, Secret of Nim. I already explained why. That one is a good one. And worst film, The Other Mother from Coraline. And yes, anyone who wants to eat children is a bad mom. So.
What do you think about Other Mother versus her actual mother in the film? I got the impression it was trying to say that like her real mother was a very good mother. She just didn't see it.
Yeah.
Do you think they sold that? Do you believe that her regular mother was an actual good mother?
She could have been a better mother, but at the same time, she could have been a worse mother, too. I mean, does have her flaws. She obviously is, like, very... I don't know if it's just because, like, she just moved into a new house and she's very busy, or if she's always that, frustrated and at all the time, but... Yeah, she did kind of come off as not a very good mother, but at the same time, she could have been a lot worse. And in the end of the movie, she does make amends with Coraline, and it ends on, like, a happy note, like a hopeful note, like things are going to turn out better for them and everything.
Yeah, and also it is written from a child's point of view,
yes.
The movie, and at that age, if your parents don't pay attention to you at any point in time, you are just kind of like, no one cares about me. So I think that was kind of the message of it. Is that, yeah, your parents do care about you, even if they have to work at the same time. Next one up came from me. I agree with a lot of things people said, but two that I thought no one mentioned was, for best I'll throw in Florida Evans from Good Times. I loved Good Times. There was a period of time in my life in which I would not watch any TV show that wasn't from the 70s, and Good Times was easily one of my favorites. And Florida Evans, once again, another mother holding down the whole household. Florida Evans was Roseanne before Roseanne, I'd say. Except that Florida and James together were running that place. In Roseanne was running 60% and Dan was running 40%. Roseanne sometimes had to take care of Dan. Florida and James, they were in it hand in hand. They were in hand up until a point, until James's character died. And then she became one of the very first single mothers on television at that point. I mean, that was a big moment when he passed away. And then for worst, this is kind of an honorary mention because in the first movie she doesn't actually appear. We don't actually see her until I think it's the fourth one. But I'm going to go with Mrs. Bates from Psycho. Because once again, that's another one of those ones in which even though you never see her, you meet Norman and you know it's all because of the mother, that he is a nutbag. And then, I think it was the fourth one, which I actually really liked. I will admit this. I liked Psycho 4 because I'm a total sucker for origin stories. And Psycho 4 is the origin of Norman Bates. And I really dug it. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, you see all the stuff that Mrs. Bates did to him, and she very clearly was a horrible, horrible person. Worse from Nightcrawler, which also Gangly also submitted this one, but Nightcrawler puts in Margaret White from Carrie. You've seen Carrie, right?
Yes, and I agree.
Yeah, hot damn, that is...
Yeah.
Once again, this is another example. This is a theme we've been seeing in which really fucked up kids, the moment you meet their mom, you realize that's the only way they were ever going to come out. And Carrie White's another one of those. Like, if Carrie had a loving, supportive mom, she would have been a superhero. Mm-hmm. She would have been, had a TV show where she moved stuff with her mind. She would have been a guest on Carson. But no, she kills everyone, and it's because her mom drove her batshit crazy.
Isn't that how most supervillains come about? They have horrible parents, and they just want to, they just say, fuck the world, and...
Some people... There's some women that just want to see their prom dates burn. Let's see. Next up... oh, yes. Violet-Eyed... Oh, wait. I almost said Violent-Eyed Dragon. Violet-Eyed Dragon said, I also think that Sandra Bullock's character from Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close deserves a mention Worst goes to Monique's character in Precious, agreed. Unless you count Stepmoms, in which case the Evil Queen is the winner. But yeah, let's go back to Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. This, I'm going to let you talk mostly about this one, because this is a movie in which critics and fans were totally split, like 50-50, just did not like it or absolutely loved it. And we walked out of that movie, and like I was so praying that we weren't going to be like that, in which we were going to be split, and we walked out of that movie, and the first words you said to me were, "How are people split on that movie?" And I just went, like, yeah, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff in there that I actually do like, and one of them is Sandra Bullock's character. I really liked her in that. But yeah, we won't get into like our differences on that movie, but since you liked it more, I'll let you go into that.
Let's just say that I was a lot like the kid in the movie when I was little. I saw the world differently, and it's very difficult when you're growing up and the parent that does understand you dies, and you're left with the other parent who does not understand you as much. And the fact that Sandra Bullock's character is actually trying to make an attempt to connect with her son is very nice, and it's like she understands that he's different from other kids, so she has to approach him differently. And I think that's really what I appreciate about her.
Yeah, it's really incredible there at the end where you see the lengths she has gone to try and match her son on the level that he's at. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I won't, I think there's a lot of moments in that movie in which they try to manipulate you. That's one of the actual genuine moments of the film. Mm-hmm. That at the end, I was really kind of choking up at that, because I won't lie, I was almost the point where it's like this movie's some bullshit, and then it gives me that, and it's like, oh god, don't make me feel, don't touch my heart, movie. But yeah, that for you,
and your heart grew 3 sizes that day.
It broke the little measuring thing. But yeah, I think for you, that was kind of your Ides of March.
Yes.
Like with me, so many people tell me, how the fuck do you like that movie? I'm just like, you haven't seen what I've seen, man. I had Vietnam flashbacks watching that movie. And for you, that was, afterwards when you told me, yeah, I relate a lot with that. I was like, I can't really criticize anything about that movie then, because it's almost like going up to somebody going, how dare you feel that way? It's like, fuck you, asshole. Oh, you cry when you hear Johnny Cash is hurt? What a pussy. Fuck you, man. It means something to me. Let's see. Next up, Black Rose wrote, I don't know about the best, but the worst is definitely Kiko Fukushima from Nobody Knows. We have not seen that one either, but we read the description, and it's about a mother who abandons 4 children. Yes, what a bitch.
Yes.
Holy, I don't care who you are. If you want to put kids up for adoption, hey, I understand the world's a complicated place. You want to put 4 kids up for adoption all at the same time, at different ages. What the fuck? How did that happen? But, I absolutely love this next one. The Faithfully Departed wrote, worst. Ted Mosby's wife. The kids never see her because Ted is telling the longest story ever. Ted Mosby is the protagonist of How I Met Your Mother. And I really love that show, but it reached a point in like the 5th season in which I was like, none of this shit is important anymore. For the love of God, just marry Robin already. Or let her go on to S.H.I.E.L.D. She's doing well there. And then lastly, we have Captain Insano. Best, Lorelai Gilmore from Gilmore Girls. I think that's a really cool one. I think that's a nice little pick. Because, yeah, that's one of those mother-daughter friendship kind of things. Which, I can't think of another really great example of that. I can think of some crappy examples, but yeah, another example has done it that well. He also wrote, is it lame that I actually like that show and am a man? He's got Gerard Butler as his icon, so I think that kind of evens him out. And then worst is, I almost read that as Lucille Ball for a moment there, which I was about to go, I disagree with that. Lucille Ball was a good mom, and oh, no, he wrote Lucille Bluth from Arrested Development. Yes, once again, another vote for Lucille Bluth from Arrested Development.
Although when you mention Lucille Ball, I can't help but think back to Everyone Loves Raymond, where they just I feel like they just shoved the kid in there for ratings, and they realize it's not working, so they just leave out the kids and never mention them again.
That's true. That's one of the things in which I do remember watching a couple episodes. You know, of course I saw them all in reruns, so I didn't know the order they went in. And yeah, there was a moment in which I thought, there was one episode I watched in which I thought, oh, this was clearly one of the early ones. And then you see, no, it's not. This is one of the ones in which the kid was in. I was like, where the fuck was the kid the whole time? But yeah, thank you so much, Screen Pups. This was, that's the last that we have. Thank you all so much for the great submissions that you made. You guys are the ones who are making this site, and I thank you so much for all your suggestions and all of your support from the last podcast. This one, like I said, we were trying something new here by having someone else on. We're going to try and get different people on, and when I get this all working, I promise you this, when we get this all working, this will be a show that is all about Screen Pups talking to Screen Pups. This will be me with a group of other Screen Pups through Skype as soon as I figure out how to make that work.
Can I just want to, throw in my little thing for, best mom and everything.
Oh, shit, how did I totally forget? Yeah, what's your best mom?
My vote is Nicole Watterson from The Amazing World of Gumball.
Oh, as far as the TV one goes?
Yes, yeah, for the TV one.
For anybody who hasn't seen The Amazing World of Gumball, it's a super cute show.
Yes, and I love how they use, different styles of animation and somehow combine them into one, and it seems to just work together so well.
Mix together so well, yeah. And, what was her name?
Nicole.
Nicole, yeah. Nicole Watterson, The Amazing World of Gumball is one of those shows in which, there are some shows which is mostly for kids, but adults can kind of get. Then there are some cartoons out there that are kind of mostly aimed at adults, but, it's a cartoon, so kids still kind of enjoy it. Amazing World of Gumball is one of the only shows on TV right now that I can think of where kids and adults are going to enjoy that on the exact same level. Because even though it's totally family-friendly comedy, it's still got the pacing of a more mature comedy show, of a more mature cartoon, old school, kind of like Looney Tunes kind of pacing. So yeah, I love that show. And Nicole is a good mom on that. She is one of those super moms looking over everything.
Yeah, it's that doesn't mean she doesn't have her flaws, too. She does go to anger management. And, considering all the crap she has to put up with, I don't blame her for having a temper. And on top of that, most, good role model mothers, like Marge and Lois from Family Guy.
I was just about to ask, how do you think Nicole compares to Marge? Because that's another example where the dad is a total moron.
It's the thing is, Marge is a stay-at-home mom, but Nicole actually works, so she's doing double time.
Oh.
Yeah, that I feel like I have more respect for her, because she has to, hold down a job and a family.
Do you have any suggestions from a movie? It can be one of the ones we've already mentioned, too.
Well, a lot of good ones have been mentioned. I'm kind of wondering, which ones... I guess, Littlefoot's mom from Land Before Time.
Oh, that's a cute one.
Yeah, because, she gives him very good advice, and, even though, spoiler alerting, for those of you who haven't seen it, even though after she dies, she's still with him, and, helps guide him and his friends through the Great Valley and all that, so I think that's really cute. And proof that, if you love someone and they're good to you, they'll always be in your heart and everything like that, so.
Very touching. Yeah. So, yeah, that was it for the show. I thank you guys. I already gave some of my suggestions for best and worst. Oh, yeah, do you have any worst?
I don't know if, stepmothers count, because, those are the ones that always pop into mind, because, the big old stereotype that it's that stepmoms are always evil and all that, and it's well, from my personal experience, it is a bit true, but I don't know what the deal is with stepmoms, and I know there are some good stepmothers out there. Some of my friends have actually nice stepmoms, but personally for me, it's just any kind of wicked stepmother in TV shows and movies and all that. They're on my list of worst mothers, so.
Yeah. Actually, I've got two more worst that I want to throw out there. Natalie Portman's mom from Black Swan. Did you ever see Black Swan?
No.
It's such a good film. It is, once again, it's one of the few films I've ever given 5 stars to. But I would have trouble telling you to watch it because every woman that I've heard of...
You've heard of women?
Shut up.
Tell me about these women that you've heard so much about of.
Shut up. I'm editing this out.
No, you're not.
Alright, fine.
It's funny.
Every woman I know who has seen it walked out of it so messed up. It messes up anyone that watches it. It made me feel like I had bugs crawling on my skin after watching that. But women walk out of it just deeply, like, it hits something in them, and I think a lot of it has to do with the relationship between Natalie Portman and her mom in that movie. Because Natalie Portman's mom in that, she plays like one of those, she's a little bit of Carrie's mom mixed with a stage mom.
Ew.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see why.
Like, Natalie Portman is just the most frail thing in the world in that movie. Like, a breeze of wind would blow her over. And you know it's all because her mom made her be like that. Like, there is a scene right after Natalie Portman has gotten the lead role in Swan Lake, in which she tells the mom, and she's very happy, and she gives her a cake to celebrate, and Natalie Portman says, well, I can't eat it because I have to stay in shape. And she is frighteningly thin in this movie, and you know she's that way because her mom has forced her to be that way. And so even though she's doing exactly what her mom has told her to do, her mom takes this as such a personal attack and guilt trips the hell out of her until she, like, starts eating the cake, but she looks afraid, like, if she does something wrong, she'll get in trouble again.
Well, she can always just puke it back up later.
You know she probably did. That's the funny thing. But yeah, and
we're not promoting bulimia. Don't do it. It's not cool.
Unless you want to look really good. It's kidding.
You're terrible.
Hey, I'm the guy on the side who, constantly has said women are too thin. When I saw the magazine ads for the Hunger Games, I thought it was a hard-hitting article about the weight problem with actresses in Hollywood.
That's what it should be about. People fighting each other for food.
That is kind of what it's about.
Winner gets these free coupons to Burger King.
Freeburg and Seltzer just announced that they're making a parody of the Hunger Games called The Starving Games, which isn't even that fucking clever. But Freeburg and Seltzer are the worst people in film, period, ever, end of statements. So you know they would do some dumb shit like that in their film.
What? I don't remember.
They're the guys who make the movies. They're the ones who make.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah.
It's just. I knew about them. It's just been so long since I've actually heard of them. It's like the
since
last.
They've been relevant.
Yeah, since like the last.
Yeah,
movie they did was like Vampires Suck, and that was like years ago, and that
like,
did horrible. So it's like I was hoping they just like after that they just
disappear into the void.
Yes. Which they should, because their movies are horrible.
Could we put them in the Phantom Zone, like from Superman 2, just have the two of them out there in space? Wow, wow,
hey, this is so great, make a great parody movie, wee!
Phantom Zone movie. But yeah, so, Natalie Portman's mom from that movie, I definitely gotta throw out from Black Swan. And another one that I'll throw out, and this one is kind of controversial. I'm going to throw out Kitty Foreman from That 70s Show. And I know a lot of people are saying, what? Kitty Foreman was a great mom. Yes, in the beginning of the show. But did you ever watch That 70s Show?
I watched it at the beginning, but like then after a while I just sort of like lost track of it. I didn't like really see her get bad. So
yeah, That 70s Show followed a formula that a lot of TV shows do, which is the first season they're figuring stuff out. They're trying to hit their marks, trying to hit their pacing, trying to figure out what the theme of the show should really be. Second, third, fourth seasons, that's when they're at their top. That's when everything is firing on all guns. They know exactly what to do. But then after that season is typically when the regular writers of the show start to leave it, and they hire on new writers who just happen to be fans of the show, and then you create a symptom in television that is known as the inmates running the asylum, and it's basically when fans of a show get to start writing for that show, and they basically just write fanfic. They don't know how the characters really should react. They only see them as the jokes that they loved, so they kind of turn into caricatures of themselves. We've seen that on Logic, we've seen that on The Simpsons, we've seen that on pretty much any show that has lasted more than, I'd say, 150 episodes max. That's when it's very rare that a show exists past that point and it doesn't at some point kind of fall into the inmates running the asylum syndrome. Mm-hmm. But that 70s Show got it so bad because Kitty suffered the worst on that show. Because before, her whole joke was that she was an overly sweet mom, that she was an overly protective mom. She went from overly protective to possessive, and I talked about Peg Bundy babying her son. Kitty babied Eric Foreman on that show so much, it was creepy. Like, you know that if his dad, Red, didn't beat the crap out of him, Eric would have killed his mother, started dressing like her, and murdering women in hotel rooms. That is how possessive she became of him. So, like I said, a lot of people out there might think, oh, she's a great mom. And I agree, she really was. But watch, like, the last 2 seasons of that show. It is almost disturbing where they take that character. So, yeah, I'll just wrap this up by saying thank you to all the Screen Pups. As soon as I figure out how to get this all working 100%, because like I said, Audacity craps out on me all the time. As soon as I figure out how to get this thing foolproof, it's going to be all Screen Pups talking.
Start a Kickstarter account.
Yeah, that's going to... Actually, I don't know. Save Screen Kickstarter might work, but...
Save the site you love.
You know what? I'm going to throw out the worst. I'm going to throw out Padme from the Star Wars films. Just because how the fuck do you fall for Anakin when he's like 10 years younger than you? And he's clearly a serial killer. See, this episode came full circle. We got back to Star Wars.
Yay!
Was there a bad mom in Avengers? No. But no, yeah. So yeah, those are my suggestions.
I don't know, where was Tony Stark's mom the whole time?
In a bottle. But no, yeah, so yeah, thank you, Screen Pups, so much. Leave your suggestions below. Also, I'm currently going back and forth on the name. Speak Screen Pup Speak or Screen Pup Radio. Which do you guys like best? Leave a suggestion. And thank you so much. Thank you to Michelle for coming in. Plug your site real quick.
Toonscribbles.com, that's TOONSKRIBBLEZ.com. You know, my artwork and my comics are on that site, so feel free to check it out.
Yeah, she's going to keep contributing art to our site as well. So, I thank her for that. And thank you to all you guys for tuning in. Screen Pups will return next week.
Bye.